Hi guys, I'm just waiting for YouTube as usual. Just a second. Let's see if I can see that we becoming live. Hold on for a second there with us. Let's see. Confirmation from YouTube. Done. Yeah, I can see myself and I'm bringing Amanda next to me again. And last time I've done Amanda's on this side and it actually worked well on the on, on YouTube. And I'm just checking here. Like, let's see what's showing up in there. Yeah, it worked really well. Exactly the same way that we can see. I think it's just a mirrored version in there, which is
I like that.
cool, guys. So it was an interesting chat this morning. I mean, as always, as I say to you guys, we always have a little chat before we kind of before we jump live as well, just to find what would be the core of our conversation as well. And Amanda shared a little bit of her experiences again with the healing. And one of the things I stuck from our little chat as well. It's interesting that as soon as you are with, let's say, more than one person, there's almost like a different consciousness. We heard that in the spiritual world or the self-development as well, that two minds thinks more than just two minds. It's not just 1 + 1 and it's equal two. There's a different, almost like a different energy around it as well.
Yeah.
And we're just saying, when Amanda and I will like join our conversations, there's a different energy. It's a different than just Junior, and it's different than just Amanda, and it creates a different environment. And even when we go live as well, there is a different energy, because even if you're not here live with us as well, you are here in terms of like a bigger perspective as well. So there's a different perspective, there's a different consciousness that we are creating as a collective of you that are watching it now, the people that watched already, the people that will watch, and everything. So there is a bigger consciousness there that is around all of that. And saying that as well, like, so the core of the message that we're going to talk today is like being a healthy empath as well. And you probably, if you are an empath as well, you probably can feel that both myself and Amanda, we're quite empaths in terms of understanding, feeling, and I know Amanda was sharing, like, sometimes it can be frustrating being around us when we are on our power of being an empath, understanding what the other person is going through. Let's say someone is complaining, someone is like saying, how bad things are, or, in negative place and everything else. But if you're in your power, in a, let's say, healthy empath, in that sense, you can be quite annoying to the person, let's say, because you're like, you can resonate with it, but you don't need to give into it. So you're not going to join the complaining, you're not going to join the problem. And also, you don't have to actually lose your energy with the person. You don't have to feel like, the term energy vampire, where people, suck your energy out and everything else. So hopefully by the end of this episode, you can start kind of really getting into your power. If you are like an empath like we are as well, and you can feel what the other person is saying, and you can identify when someone is like, I don't know, overthinking. We mentioned about overthinking, overwhelmed, and you almost like put yourself into their shoes, and you can resonate with what's going on. But if you are in your power with who you really are, you don't need to lose yourself into it. You can still resonate, you can still relate, you can still talk to them in a way that a non-empath wouldn't be able to even understand. Why is this person not getting it? What are they talking about? Or why are they complaining? Life is much better, and all the stuff. Rather than fighting, you can kind of have a connection with them as well.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Awesome.
I love the authenticity as well. Whenever you and I talk, there was a vulnerability there, real sharing, real deep things, real parts of ourselves that, when we expose them. And I love how we were very diligent at connecting with each other. And what's that person trying to say? And can I feel into that? And I really appreciate this space as well for us all doing that. So again, so if anyone's that's listening, if they want to send some questions, if there's something they want to share, please do. because that's what this space is. Our intention is openness, authenticity, kindness, compassion, love, evolution, and that's the united intention of the consciousness that Jeannie and I are creating, and everyone that's here with us. And I think it's a really powerful when we talk about a healthy empath, because when you are healthy and whole and within your own vibrational alignment, it was like a peaceful resolution within you, a contented harmony in who you are, that we realize any parts of ourselves that have been maybe fractured away from that, that were taught. This is quite a big subject as well, so we're going to sort of ease it in quite gently. And some of you will know this on a deep level, and some of this might be quite new to you. And there's lots of information out there about this, which is brilliant. So you'll have heard the word energy vampire, narcissist, and it's becoming a big thing in our culture as well. And I think it's something that is important to be aware of. And as a brain consciousness, as a child, we are sort of designed to tune into a dominant energy. So we are naturally inclined to do that. But when we're aligned and whole and anchored in who we are, anchored in that presence, and we've healed any parts of ourselves that didn't feel whole within. So it, as a young child, it needed to feel a connection with others. It needed to be liked to feel safe, or I need others to approve of me to be safe, or I need to fix people or heal people, because if that person's healed and whole, well, they can love me as I love them. And also, if that person's healed and whole, they're in pain. And as an empath, I feel their pain. So if I can heal them and rescue them and love them, they'll heal that. So we can have a healthy, whole, loving relationship. And there's lots of sort of conditioning around being an empath with other people. So people pleasing, fixing, rescuing, vibrational codependency. I can't be okay if you're not. And the more we spend looking at those parts of ourselves, I was sharing with Junior, I was with somebody the other day who they are a consciousness that's waking up to themselves, and very much stuck in a pattern of complaining. There was a very much a feeling of, without them knowing it, they were very disempowered in, I don't have a choice here. This person is making me do something. And because I've spent a lot of work now on myself, becoming more whole, more aligned, I was still very compassionate with that person. I could still feel a kindness. I could still understood why that person was doing that. And I could feel them wanting me to join in. I could feel it was a strong energy. But because now every day my focus of energy and our focus of energy is light, love, health, wholeness, peace, unity consciousness, unique vibrational energy, inner power. We actually really have our power from within. And it's wonderful to bounce off energies with others. That's part of being human. So as we keep saying in these episodes, we're not saying that by being aligned, it's about sitting in a cave and humming and drinking water. No, we came here to experience being humans and having these kind of relationships that, wow, that was an amazing conversation. And I feel really uplifted. And I love that. That's what we want. So this particular person I was with, I could tell we've known each other for a long time, and I've really changed. And I could almost feel their frustration in me, as you used to be somebody who, to make me feel better, you'd join me and say, yeah, how could that person treat you like that? But as I sat there, I thought, I'm not helping them. I'm keeping them disempowered. I'm feeding their disempowerment. I'm enabling it. So I just kept sitting there, really feeling my presence and seeing the amazing light that that person was underneath those patterns of victimness and a bit of neediness and a bit of entitlement, all the things that we've all done. I could recognize it because I've been it. So there wasn't a judgment there. There was a discernment there. I could see it. I didn't need to make that person bad. So I just kept breathing, being with them, and I think I took their hand and I've just been very calm, very still. And I could feel them getting quite agitated. They were really ramming it up. And in the end, because this person is someone that's working on themselves, in the end, they just said, I don't know. And I knew that was when all that stuff she realised wasn't working. And that was a window of, well, what would you like? And then the whole conversation changed. So I didn't actually say anything. I let the complaining happen. I didn't get drawn into it. And I think the whole frustration just collapsed in on itself. And she just sort of said, I don't know. And that was it. Well, what would you like? And that's when we talked about not what she doesn't want, what she does want. And then I could join her there. And when that person left, we both felt very uplifted because we'd focused on the solution, we focused on what she does want. We did a bit of healing on her. You know, why did she feel this person had power over her? It wasn't a session, it was a friendly cup of tea. Some work went on I don't think she knew about, and that was fine because I did ask permission on an energetic level. And she left saying, she says, yeah, I'm going to just keep focusing on the resolution, how I want this to resolve itself. And I am worthy of things working out for me. I'm not on my own, and my life does love me. And I just sort of saying a few things that we've said in our sessions of, you're not on your own. Everything's working out for you. Everything that happens, there is also a potential for a good thing to evolve out of it. Nothing's a punishment. Nothing. Because she said something about karma, and she said, well, what goes around comes around. And then she said about some things she'd done, so maybe I deserve this. And I would try to say to her, there's been a bit of a misunderstanding about karma. Karma really is just when we continue our conditioned habits, fearful habits that we take on from generations or now. So when we release those conditions, those patterns that we say don't help us, we release the karma around it so we don't attract. So if I have a belief of I'm unworthy, my subconscious believes I'm unworthy. As Gina so beautifully said yesterday, I'm going to look for people and situations that confirm I am unworthy. And that's really what karma is. It's not a punishment. So as I release the unworthiness, my subconscious, my energy, life is looking for evidence of, yeah, I'm worthy. I deserve good things. I'm a good person. I believe in goodness. I believe in light. I believe in evolution. I know there's a way forward. I believe in the goodness of humanity. There are good people out there. We're all good. It just depends where our consciousness is. So I helped to just clear this understanding of karma, because I think within her, she got a belief that these bad things were happening because of something she'd done or something her family had done. So that was a big healing for her. Maybe part of her thought she deserved it.
I just, yeah, it's the first time I hear this definition of karma as well. And for me, it was a little aha moment when you shared this now, right now, Amanda, as well. And I feel, yeah, the people that we were watching, yeah, it worth to bring attention to this way of looking at karma. Because yes, at the back of my mind, there was still, that idea of what you, how do you call, you see, what you seed, or what you reap, what you saw, isn't it? What, yeah, that
Yeah,
idea of like, what, yeah, you,
yeah,
if you plant this, you're gonna, get
absolutely.
that in that sense. And I love the idea of this, yeah, this slightly tweak that you gave, or different perspective to karma, where it's not like I don't need to be punished by, something that I've done in the past or anything else. It's just a pattern, it's a conditioning thought that I've been repeating. And then, of course, there's a consequence. You know what I mean? If I switch on the light, it will turn on. But if you keep repeating that same pattern over and over again, it will turn into a karma. Oh, it's a karma. I'm switching on the light, it's turning on. I'm switching on the light, it's turning on, until you decide to do a different switch. Do you see? You have a different perspective into life, or a different conditioning, or a different pattern, or different programming in your mind as well. So you had a switch which was like, people are coming to get me. Do you see what I mean? And they betraying, and then you react in a certain way. You act in a certain way, which, yes, I'm protecting, because people are trying to, get me, trying to make me in a certain way, until you change the pattern, and it's actually people are here to help me, or I'm worthy of, being loved.
Yeah.
And then that karma changed, because now you are in a different pattern, in a different way of looking at life. And I feel that that was, yeah, that little, aha moment when you shared that. And for the first time I looked at karma in that way. Yeah.
And I love the fact you really felt that, because I think it's a big thing in our lives, isn't it? And also because if somebody does something that we know isn't alignment with love, it could be cruel, it could be unpleasant, and our mind will say, well, I need justification, I need justice, I need, and we sort of hand that over to life a little bit as well, because yeah, if maybe somebody is acting out of a fear-based, entitlement, I need to overpower. Fear gets me what I want. If I use fear, if I'm cruel, I tend to get what I want from you. It gives me power. As we all heal from that, yeah, those patterns for that certain person weren't working on. He wasn't a full-blown personality disorder person, but he was somebody who there was a huge entitlement, and he was a bit of a bully. And the reason I ended up sending him to somebody else eventually who was trained in personality disorders from a psychology level. But the reason he started to realize he needed to change, because his patterns of, well, if I bully people, I kind of get what I want. And if I tell somebody I love them, so they feel safe with me, then I've got them, then I can kind of play with them because I can withhold that love a little bit. And then they sort of do what I want to get my love back. So he'd learned to feel powerful and safe in the world. He needed to control others. But the karma that was going to help him heal out of those, because they weren't helping him. He wasn't experiencing loving relationships. It was all about control. No matter what situation he went into, how can I control this to feel powerful? And the reason he realized he needed to change, because all those patterns weren't working. People were waking up to him. People were leaving him. He was getting asked to leave jobs because people didn't want that energy. So that was a good thing. Life was saying, these patterns aren't serving you. You're an amazing person. You don't need to do this. So that's when he came to me and he said, my life is literally collapsing around my ears and I don't know what to do. So he'd learned, he'd been bullied, he'd been taught these patterns. He'd learned if you can control others, if you can dominate others, because he hadn't recognized his own internal power source, his own, that life loved him. So we did some energetic healing, but the person that he then got sent to was somebody who is very much trained in kind of personality disorders, sort of narcissism, because that person so knows those patterns, they won't be manipulated. So I know the person they went to knows the patterns of narcissism, so will not be manipulated. Because when this person came to see me, he tried that. He did the sympathy, he did the, the love, the sort of, not the love bombing because it wasn't that, but it was the, oh God, you're amazing. He did all that. And I just sat there sort of watching, and he was always like, this isn't working, is it? I was like, no, you're here to heal. So do you want to heal? Do you want to change? Almost, let's cut the crap. Like, do you want to change? And you had to be quite firm with him, because I knew to be really nice and I'll pull you, and that actually wouldn't help him. But then what he did need was healing that wound in him that actually said, I just think I'm a bad person. And that's when he broke down and cried. Because I think I'm just and I said, you're not a bad person, but you have a belief that you are. He said, there's no light in me. So the first time we got him beneath all those layers and he connected with his inner heart, he sobbed because he didn't know that was in there. So his journey carried on elsewhere. So I knew I didn't have the psychological tools he needed as well. But for him, it was profound, his own light.
That's so much like what you said here now, Amanda. One is, yeah, I feel it's totally aligned to what we spoke at the beginning, being an empath as well, but from a strong place. And it's interesting because I had quite a few, I coached hundreds of people like the last few years and everything else. And there were like quite a few people that you can feel when someone is being too nice to you. For example, you can be an empath, and I'm really empath and everything else, but you can feel when they are using that to manipulate you in that sense. And you can, and again, and that's where you don't have to follow in your own victim mind as an empath saying, oh, they are manipulating me in that sense. You can, and you don't need to be arrogant, you don't need to go or anything else. It's just literally taking yourself into a powerful place,
Yeah.
into your own energy, and then really following your heart, your soul, your intuition. And for you, Amanda, you follow that. Okay, I'm not playing this game here, and how can I help you? Do you see what I mean? What's really going on here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you praising me that I'm a good, a good coach, a good therapist, and you're gonna save me and everything else. You involving into that, like where he was trying to get control, but at the same time leaking his power, handling his power to someone else that he could blame that it's not, do you see what I mean, working in
Yeah.
that sense. So I think it's a beautiful example of like how we as an empath as well, we don't need to be leaking that power or playing with whatever it's happening. And those ideas I think that we mentioned earlier as well of energy vampire and all the stuff that we do, is this empowering me as an empath, or disempowering me?
Yeah.
Because if I feel that people are sucking my energy and I'm putting that power on them because they are the vampires, who is in power here? Do you see what I mean? But
Yeah.
you can, from your choice, to go back and, oh, it's interesting. They are trying to, do you
Yeah.
see now you have that kind of overview of this? I can see that they need some energy. They require some energy. You can use your empathy to understand where they're coming from and everything else, and not
What?
needing to lean into it.
No. And,
And
and it's that healthiness, isn't it? It's that, well, what was it in us that needed to be told that they were loved? There's obviously a part of us that was that hadn't come home yet, that needed an external source of, what part of us needed that external love that we hadn't realized is already here. So as we say, when we become a whole empath, a healthy empath, we've healed our wounds of, we've come back to that wholeness, haven't we? That the patterns of, the people pleasing, the fixing, the rescuing, that we can get love bombed because there's a part of us still doesn't remember or know it is completely loved, it is whole. It doesn't need somebody to tell you that, because you're that. And that's why an empath can attract a narcissist, a personality disorder, because it's almost that karma life saying, right, we need to bring these two people together so they can heal. There's patterns that really aren't serving them, that made them forget the amazingness that they are. And as an empath, I think we are people that do want to work on ourselves because we think we're the wrong one.
yeah,
I think that's why, Tony, it is, we are the ones that spent years working on ourselves. And maybe the personality disorder, the narcissists, they're the ones that tend to, as you go down the extreme, go down the path, the spectrum of, there's nothing wrong with me, they need to change. So they perhaps the ones that don't do the work so much because they sort of like, well, they're a bit entitled about it. Like, why do I need to change? But it can often be because they really have disconnected from that light that they are, the goodness, the love, the wholeness inside. So they really are trying to control their environment to get from the world that power energy source that they really have. And it often is, they've had extreme trauma, it can be a genetic trauma, it can be a trauma that's happened now. They can actually be a natural born narcissist. This is a whole other episode that
yeah.
I'm not going to go into,
What
conscious of time.
I'm just like kind of just balancing it out. Like I feel it's not just one extreme or the other. It's not just, being an empath is the best thing in the world or being a narcissist is the worst thing in the world. I think, like we mentioned, even before we jumped in live, we have all sorts of personalities and archetypes. Of course, some of us, a little bit on one down to this side of the spectrum, a little bit down there, but it doesn't mean that an empath can't be, behave on a narcissist way, let's say, and it doesn't mean that a narcissist can't be, empathic and can't be feeling things and so on. So I feel there is no kind of far right or far left in that sense. There has to be a certain way in in the spectrum in there. there are, people in all sort of ways in there. It doesn't mean that they don't have the other parts within them that they can actually feel more, or, empower more themselves and so on. So we can, yeah, I feel it's more just like in going back to what we've been telling, every single episode, which is going back to your inner power, to, finding who you really are, being that solid. And I love the image that you shared earlier as well, having that, being rooted or grounded or, anchored in a strong, place, so you can actually be an empath and not be carried away in that
Yeah.
sense, and not be taken away. I just want to highlight a few things that I got from this call. Like, one is that, example that you said about this guy as well. I love, because as an empath, we tend to think that we get to save people as well. We get to take them away from that pain and so on. And I love that you recognize as well. And I've done this in both ways. I've done in places where I recommended, someone to go to someone else in that sense. So being an empath is good as well to know where your tools, your kit you can use and help that person,
Yeah.
or that person is not going to be helpful. So you can help as much as you can up to that level, and then, send to someone else. Um, and then also the idea of the karma that you mentioned in there, in a very different perspective than I had in my mind. And I love this idea that you mentioned, for up until that moment, that gentleman, that guy that was like there, and having the karmatic results all the time, like, oh, it is affecting my work, it's affecting possibly my personal life and my relationships and my friendships, and all the impacts. It feels really like a karmatic. And again, from the karma perspective, if we have at least the image that I had of karma up until now, it's like, oh, I have to suffer that anyway. So I'm here because of, I don't know, my past generations or my previous life or my previous, guilt or sins that I have done.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do other than suffering and carry on suffering. Do you see?
Mm.
And I feel that you bringing that kind of fresh breath of, actually, you can change if you allow yourself to, heal into it, to feel into it, to find, where is that pattern, where is that, karma, what is it that is actually creating, and heal it, not just for yourself, like we say, but for people around you, for future generations, and so on. So you actually healing that, transforming that karma. And again, it's not a bad thing. It's just, again, like we always says in every previous episode, it's just a contraction. Oh, something doesn't feel good. It's painful. It's suffering. It's like, it's basically life. Come on, there's something here to embrace. There's something here to look at. There's something here that we can heal and work with you.
And it's no different if I put my hand on a hot stove and I don't see the hot stove, that's damaging my hand. So what does my body do? I've got to wake Amanda up and get her attention as quick as I can. Pain.
Pain, yeah.
It's painful. I look at my hand. What's hurting? Oh, I pull my hand away. Oh gosh. And it's an emotional pain, psychological pain. It's the same thing. It's a part of us that's saying these thoughts you're having, these beliefs, we're not making them wrong, but they are not in alignment with the love, the worthiness, the wholeness, the power, the value, the wonder that you are. And just briefly saying as well that it's a saying that see the child to see the parent's shame. Um, that's quite a common one. That's something I've worked with people and with me, where actually a lot of the shame and guilt they're feeling is shame and guilt that of things their parents did or their family did that maybe that parent couldn't acknowledge or deal with or work with. So sometimes we assume shame's all of ours, but often we're carrying it for others as well.
And again, it goes very hand in hand with what, this new idea that I got with you now of karma, because you could say that is a karma that's coming from generations already. Do you see? But you can be the one who can heal that now.
Yes.
You are the one who can actually embrace it, lean into it, feel it fully, and then really find the gift in it that has been waiting for generations, to unravel and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to, we're keeping the time now, like I think on our episode yesterday, we done almost like 50 minutes oh as well. But yeah, is there anything else that you just like kind of do you want to
I
finish?
think this is going to be a rolling subject, isn't it? I think,
Yeah.
and I think that's a beautiful place to leave that, and just to say that just light and goodness now is just wanting to come through, and anything that doesn't match that is starting to show in all our lives, and it's giving ourselves all the tools and the awareness to see that, and almost that thing of, I know that was a big when I had my children. It was just, it was such a strong energy of, this will not pass, these years of traumas, and this will not pass. Like, I will not pass this on to my children. It was such a strong energy. And I'm not saying I've been a perfect mum. I'm not saying that, or they've not got stuff, but that has been so powerful in me, this feeling of, I will, I'll burn in hell for the rest of this will not pass. It's like, I'm willing to do whatever it needs to do to for this not to pass on through this family and others around me. So yeah, you might have that feeling inside, that burning feeling of purpose, of yes, I don't want to pass this on. I don't want to pass this on to my family. I don't want to pass this on, leak this into the people that are around me. My purpose, my focus is love, light, unity, togetherness, compassion, kindness, inner power, everyone being in their own power source. So there are no power games, there's no manipulation, there's no survival. All that's going to beautifully get changed and integrated. These are from what we were saying yesterday. It's all about integrating those patterns and turning them into the new, which I truly believe we are, as a species, as a humanity, we are evolving into. And these are just the birthing pains.
Awesome. I feel, guys, I mean, you can feel how much, and I love, like, every day I'm talking to Amanda now, Monday to Friday we're here, and just listening to those words, like that she keeps repeating, and you can feel it. And it's just by listening to you, Amanda, I can just see, how much more connected I'm connected with, love, peace, being with yourself. And also I feel the message that we bringing together here as a collective as well. It's this idea of like going within you and finding that power within you,
Yeah.
and healing for generations to come as well. Do you see what I mean? And literally transforming that what used to be a karma, that we call it, into light, into something that can can actually benefit others in that. And the way that we know what we get to heal and everything is through whatever it is that it's telling our body, like, oh, this doesn't feel good, or it doesn't feel as it used should be, and so on. And
Yeah.
then we can heal from there. Of course, you have lots of joy and lots of happiness along the way. And the more, like we mentioned in one of the episodes, a couple of episodes before, about joy, it sometimes you have so much joy, they bring so much light in it, that it will show and highlight, few other pieces, things that we can change. And we can call it karma, we can call it programming, we can call it pattern, we can call it conditioning. It depends. You can pick what resonates with you in there, but you are in the right place. And if you're listening to this, if you're connected with this, it's because your soul, it wants to connect with its own power. It wants to connect with its own inner self of who you really really are as well. So thank you for being here, and I will see you guys on the next episode, which is going to be tomorrow again. If you want to watch us live, we usually kind of around 8:30, 9 o'clock, I would say, UK time. But if you want to get all the episodes and everything else, remember to subscribe. Maybe put the bell button there on YouTube as well. And if there is anything that resonated with you, or you want to to ask or connect or anything else, just leave us a comment on YouTube as well, and then I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thank
Cool.
you very much.
Thank you,
Lots of
guys.
love.